Another time when the opportunity was used, and the Rebbe was very happy about when you go out and you speak to other Rabbonim, etc., was Yutas Kislev Tovshin Chavtes. Yutas Kislev Tovshin Chavtes. One night was the Rebbe's Farbrengen. The next night there was a big mesibe in Boston that they made in honor of Yutas Kislev, and it was like a dinner. And Rabbi Soloveitchik, Rabbi Yosha Ber Soloveitchik, was the guest speaker there. So they got people who were involved, got a group of Bochrim to come down to there, that in case we have to speak to him, there should be Bochrim, should be able to speak to Rabbi Soloveitchik. The names of the Bochrim were Rachmiel Stillman, Shalom Weinberg, Shalom Lipsker, Shalom Levitten, myself, Zalman Deitch, and Abba Pekarsky. And we went down there. When we came there, this was a very beautiful dinner, and you had Rabbi Soloveitchik there, and you had some of his Talmidim there with him, and there was a whole program. But then when it came for him to speak, he got up and he spoke for a long time. He spoke for about, I would say, 2 hours, and the whole techen of his speech was to explain the union of Chassidus, was the Ufta of Chassidus, and the different Chassidus, and the others, and different Tanya, Nefesh HaChaim, and he spoke very, very long arichas. After the big official part was over, people left, and he was still there with his Talmidim. He turns around to us, the Bochrim, and he says, "No, Sedochitas Kislev, but Farbrengen." So we sat down to Farbrengen, and we sat down, we started talking. So we were talking all about different Yonim, about the Rebbe, and different Yonim in Nigla that the Rebbe said. One of the things was, Tovshin Chavtes, every Farbrengen, the Rebbe explained another piece of Geras HaTshuva. Poshet, he taught and explained Biyurim in the Geras HaTshuva, like Mashpia speaking and teaching. Every Farbrengen, next piece, the next piece, the next piece. So we were involved in the Siches, and since the Geras HaTshuva is a lot connected to Hilchas Tshuva in the Rambam, so we were as Bochrim pretty close in Hilchas Tshuva la Rambam. By Rabbi Soloveitchik, Rambam is one of the most important things by him, and in the Rambam Gufa, he was very strong into Hilchas Tshuva. So we were talking about Hilchas Tshuva la Rambam, different things and he was Nispol, and his Talmidim Nispol, Bochrim, even Bochrim that know how to learn, they don't know Hilchas Tshuva, maybe Hilchas Niske Moment. So he was Nispol, and we were talking. Then we spoke about the Kavat Tairich, the Rebbe Shita and Kavat Tairich, and different Yonim and the Rebbe's Biyurim. And it made basically a Kiddush Hashem. His Talmidim was standing around and looking. It was very nice. We came back, and we gave over to Anhola a report of what happened. It was punkt that Thursday night that Anhola went to the Yechidus. Like I said, they used to go into Yechidus once a month to give a report. So whenever there was something nice, something good to tell about the Bochrim, they would tell the Rebbe. So they told the Rebbe the whole thing of the whole story that we were telling them. So the Rebbe told them, first of all, one of the things we spoke about was about Sfire Kavat. So the Rebbe mentioned to them an interesting Medrash, which later in the Sichas, the Rebbe spoke a lot about it. The Medrash that says that when Sfira comes out on Sunday, it's Tmimes. Tmimes when it comes out on Sunday. So the Rebbe said it's a strange Medrash, and the Rebbe mentioned it behemshach to what they said we spoke about. But then the Rebbe said that they should tell us, the Bochrim, that we should give him a report of what happened, what he spoke about, and what this was all about. So when they came out, Rabbi Mantik told me that the Rebbe wants a report, so sit down. It's a report of a drosha from 2 hours, or 2.5 hours, it's so long, that whatever remembered. So I wrote down in the Kudah, the Kitzur, of what the Rabbi Soloveitchik said. I wrote that down. There was no recording from it. Actually, years later, we found a shtickle recording from one piece of his drosha, about 15 minutes of his drosha, which is a very crucial piece of his drosha that we do have a recording of. But then we didn't have, so anyway, we wrote it down. Then I wrote down all the nekudas of what we spoke about from the Rebbe's Farbrengen. And I gave it into the Rebbe. The Rebbe answered, and I will read the answer that the Rebbe wrote. The Rebbe wrote first, Tach ala duch, and then a line. And then he wrote these words, Bevadai, ki meduber kama poemim, shoklu v'toru, and after the word shoklu v'toru, the Rebbe made an arrow circling the names, because we signed this duch, we all signed our names. So the Rebbe made like a semicircle around all the names, with an arrow pointing to the names, and then an arrow pointing to after the word shoklu v'toru. In other words, he was saying, Bevadai ki meduber kama poemim, shoklu v'toru. You guys, shoklu v'toru, you spoke about gam mishalohem, underline the word Mishalahem, that you also for sure discussed your own inyonim, binyonim hanal. In these inyonim, you probably gave your own input. And then in parentheses, loy rak chazore behanidber ba'isvadis. End of parentheses. And not only that, you just repeated what we spoke about the Farbrengen. So Rebbe really hoped that when we spoke, we also said our own things to show that, you're learning, not only you're chazering what the Rebbe said. And then the Rebbe added the words, V'tovei Ayin Beis v'Tovei Aleim Brocha. The Rebbe was very happy when he heard that there was something like this that brought the Kiddush Hashem, Kiddush Hashem Lubavitch, that there are Bochrim who are able to speak and learning and make Kiddush Hashem. That was something that the Rebbe had great nachas from.